Good evening and welcome to another episode of A Journey in Boots from Trauma to Triumph. I'm your co-host, Dorothy Otero, founder of Unstoppable Overcomers, where we make sure that your story is heard. This is my co-host, Dr. Jay Royster. She is also the founder of Semper Modus. So Dr. Jay, share a little bit about what Semper Modus does.
So what Semper Modus does is it provides services to those who serve, those family members that served. Even if you're like once removed, it doesn't matter. We are here to serve you. Whatever your needs are, what you're struggling with, we can help. We take the majority of insurances with the exception of Medicaid. We are now a Medicare provider. And if you need a referral from the VA doc, your PCM, we are a community care network as well. So, which is amazing. Tell us a little bit more about Unstoppable Overcomers, because I don't ever give you that opportunity to share that you do like 400 shows and you're a media mogul now. So tell us more.
Well, I give a platform for people to be able to share their story. We do that overcoming life, overcoming in business, and the show is overcoming in service. And so it is important for everybody to realize they're not alone in their circumstances. We talk a lot about overcoming, which is mostly mental health. Everything usually leads to mental health, I've noticed in the like you said, 400 episodes that we've done. We are national and global. Not only are we on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, but we also are on Roku, which makes us completely international, and are in the houses of 65 million plus households, and growing because my company has partnered with Exciting Minds Media. So that means more platforms, more people, and that means these stories are heard worldwide. So that's what I do. And, we have people that we can either advertise or sponsor our shows, or, if you have a show of your own and want to get it in front of more people, we can definitely talk about that. Just connect with me after the show, and we'll definitely help you with that. Thanks for asking.
What are the names of your shows?
Unstoppable Overcomers is Monday nights. Wednesday nights is the Power Half Hour Unstoppable Business Owner. And then there's this one that I co-host with you, A Journey in Boots from Trauma to Triumph, which is on Thursday nights.
Amazing. Yes. I love that.
I said I wanted to be the next Oprah. Oprah had a own network. So this is Unstoppable Overcomers Network. And so people are like, well, what do you do? I give people a platform to share their stories. That's what we do. So
very cool.
Make them seen, make the world smaller, and that we're all in this together. So no one has to feel alone. So nobody has to, think that life's not worth living.
Absolutely. I love that. That's awesome. So who do we have on our show today?
So, okay, guys, I want to bring up Josh Otero. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Sorry if I massacred your last name.
Otero.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's common.
I should have asked that in the green room before I had brought you up. I apologize.
Okay.
So Josh is the founder and chairman of the Warrior GMR Foundation, a pioneering organization dedicated to empowering and supporting the veteran and military communities. And I love that. So Josh, tell us a little bit about yourself, though, before your journey in the Warrior Foundation.
Before my journey. So grew up in Chicago, just outside of Chicago, moved to Arizona to go to school, and went to ASU, and then got into like the financial services industry. Spent about just under 15 years there, and decided that I'm not meant for the corporate world, and started a CrossFit gym, and ran that, and then just starting businesses. And I've always been into health and wellness, so the CrossFit gym was easy, coaching was easy, executive coaching was easy, because I've always been into eating, working out, and athlete in college. And so, the journey has been really on, evolving as a person and kind of figuring out what my interests were and realizing corporate space wasn't for me, really more of an, entrepreneur and really like, kind of running and doing things and not having to work for a big company, and focused on that health, wellness, and then, as of several years ago, the mental health space, and just been really evolving since then. So that's kind of my journey up until the foundation. Then, after the CrossFit gym, I started a couple businesses, and then one of the businesses led me to the Warrior GMR Foundation. And that was a company called NutriGamer, and it's GMR, which is what Warrior GMR is. So it was a spin-off of the other company. And there's a third company out there called Fit Gamer. And so we, just kind of use that acronym because at the time I was with NutriGamer, we were working in the gaming and esports space, which coming from traditional sports was a total, out of the left field, but it ended up working really well. So that's kind of how we got to pre Warrior Gamer.
Love that. And so you actually have family members that have served in the military too, right?
My grandfather served in World War II.
Awesome. So is that why you decided that you wanted to work with veterans in the military?
No, I have some good friends. So I wanted to go into the Navy. I wanted to be a SEAL, just like every young kid does. And I'm colorblind, and so after doing some research, I'm like, I can't do it. I may have been able to do it, but I just convinced myself that I wasn't. And so I've always had a passion for the military, and I had some really good friends. One of my best friends growing up is still in Marine. And so I've always had a affinity for the military and a passion for the military. And then when COVID hit, I was working, like I said, in the gaming space, but I saw this huge increase in like social isolation, depression, loneliness, leading to suicide. And I saw that with my community that I was working in, but I also saw that in the military and veteran community. And so I was like, all right, I got to do something. Because at the time, there was 2 cadets that had committed suicide at the Air Force Academy. There were 6 suicides on a ship in Virginia Beach. And it was just, it was out of control. And I'm like, all right, what can I do? And I was working in the gaming space, and I realized that gaming is a way to connect, and you don't have to be in front of that person to do that. Mm-hmm. And so I started a foundation in 2020 with the mission to promote health, wellness, and communityship through gaming, in person and online. And then we've kind of grown from there. And we did our first in-person event in August of 2021 in Denver, Colorado, connected with a big international rugby tournament. So it ended up being, we had in that time, it was not veterans yet. It was only DOD. So all the branches of the military. That was our only competitors were all the branches, including Space Force and Coast Guard.
Wow. Interesting. And so you also said that you have the VA affiliate there too. So tell us how that works.
So year 1 was 2021, and I realized, okay, we needed a veteran component. And so I reached out to the VA to try to start working with them, met a gentleman by the name of Ryan Hinley, and he started getting me plugged into the different facets of the VA. And they were like, oh, and gaming, that's interesting. We've not done much. And there's a group called Regiment Gaming who is really big. They actually started, I think, the same year that we started. It's run by a gentleman by the name of Chris Earl. And so I reached out. I was connected to Chris. And so I said, hey, would you guys want to bring a team to our Rocket League tournament that we do every year? And he said yes. So Chris brought a veteran team. And then I started working with the VA. And then ever since then, our relationship has grown where as of July of this year, we hosted our Warrior Gamer Mental Health and Gaming Summit, and we hosted the Secretary of the VA. So it's kind of evolved from like just meeting them in 2021, and then they go through vetting, and so it took a couple of years for us to like get to the point where we are now. But it was kind of an evolution of us demonstrating what we can do, and then working our relationship with the VA to then get to that next stage with them.
Right. Awesome. And so how have you brought the gaming world to our veterans? Because I know it's more than just playing playing the game. I know in a pre-interview you mentioned, bringing active duty to their children at home too, and being able to mesh that, like bridge that gap. So tell us a little bit about that too.
So like I mentioned, that we started with video games and doing an in-person tournament. And then I realized, we're a lot bigger than that. So that second year, not only did we have a veteran component, we also had Gold Star kids. So we actually brought Gold Star kids. And then if their dad was a Navy, they would partner with the Navy guys. If their dad was a Marine, they would partner with we didn't have the Marine team at the time, but we had a Marine contingent. And so we would get like Air Force. There was no Air Force kids, but Army, mostly were Army. And so this was an opportunity for them to like actually work with, their mentors, like people that they really respected. So it went really well. And so what we did right around that same time was we created a Discord server for the veterans to be able to, and the active duty members to be able to join and provide a sense of community. Because what we saw was, as you transition from service, you lose you go from the A to a C, right? You have your A team and then you go to C civilian. And so you lose your unit, you lose your family. So we wanted to create a place where you could feel a part of something and have that sense of connection and community and purpose. So we created this Discord community where, initially it was just 100 people or so just talking and that was pretty much it. Now we've evolved to we've got over almost 3,000 people in our Discord server. Most are vets. We have active duty too, but I would say 80% are vets, maybe 20% are active duty. And we put on game nights. And so you could connect with others on game nights. We put on workshops. We do resume building. We do brand building, because that's another thing that you don't get taught is as you transition from service, you have to build your brand to get a job. And so we're putting together a whole series on that. We're going to be launching, I think, next month. I think it's a 6-week course that we're going to be putting on, led by Matt over at Operation Headshot. And it's basically teaching transitioning vets how to build a personal brand, which includes writing a resume. And so we've evolved into this massive thing where we're offering all these different services for veterans and transitioning service members to be able to not just get a home and provide a sense of purpose, but have fun, connect with others, and then actually learn life skills like personal branding and resume writing. So what we also encourage, to kind of tie it back to the kids, is playing, remotely with your kids. And we try to give them ways to be able to do that. Our server is 18 and over, just because you get a bunch of veterans in the room. You don't want youth in there. But we encourage them playing with others. And then we'll do in our tournaments, we try to bring in youth. And we had a youth director actually was responsible for that. She had some family things, so we don't have one now. So currently we're not doing anything in the youth area. We want to, we just don't have the resources as of now. But a big thing that we try to do is really provide that sense of community. So you can, feel a part of something, and then giving you the resources. So one of the things that I'm, most proud of is every Wednesday we do Warrior Wednesday with the VA. So we have a VA rep, and then every Wednesday we bring on a different guest from the VA. So we have the one person that's consistent. His name is VA Donnie. And then we get our audience to see, do we need stuff on home loans, student loans, behavioral services, you name it. We're having the PACT Act director on the 16th. So on Wednesday, the 16th, we're going to have the PACT Act director talking about PACT Act, because PACT Act is the biggest thing that the VA has done in decades. So we're bringing him on so people could ask questions. And so we try to bring the resources, because the VA is a maze, and trying to navigate the VA is really confusing. And most people don't know how to do it. So we try to, bring you those resources by, hey, what do you need? Tell us what you need ahead of time, and then give us a couple of weeks to get that person on. So if you need, like I said, any of the service, PT, how do I get VR glasses? Like whatever, we bring on those people that run those divisions, and then you're able to hear it directly from the horse's mouth. You need to do this, follow this process. And oftentimes the person that's on there, if you give them like your email address, they'll actually follow up with you. And so we're able to provide services to veterans that they probably can't get elsewhere because they don't know where to go. Because again, it's when you have 100 different departments, how do you know which of the 100 to go to? So you ask us.
You're like me and get lost at James Haley VA.
Yes.
So I do have a couple questions. You mentioned Gold Star Children. Could you elaborate as to what Gold Star is? And then you're talking about the PACT Act. Can you explain what that is as well?
So Gold Star is kids that have lost a Gold Star kid would be a child that's lost a parent in service. And so there's a group that's called the Gold Star Gamers, and Gold Star Gamers basically are it's led by a lady. Her name is Martha, and she lost her husband, and so she started a foundation to basically bring kids together to have support. Right? They all lost, all of them as their dads, so they've all lost their father. Mm-hmm. And so it's a way to kind of bring them together and game. So what we did was we did this big event, and we brought the kids in and we actually had them play. And the game that we played was Rocket League, which is basically, it's a really fun, easy game to watch. And it's basically cars with soccer. So you're playing soccer, but instead of people playing soccer, it's cars. And these kids were really good. And then you have them partnered with their, like I said, their counterpart, like Army. And so they get mentored as well. So they're not only having fun, but they're getting mentored as well.
I love that. Like you said, it brings, they at least have the, what's the proper word I'm trying to look for? They may have lost their dad, but at least they have like a mentor to not take that place, but help them transition past losing their loved one, is what I'm trying to say. Love that.
Yeah. And they need it. We've done a couple events together, and one of them, we actually got dorms in a university, and we put on an event there for Veterans Day. And I actually, they each had a chaperone in their room. So we got like 10 rooms or something. I had my own room, but I got to spend time with them, and just hearing some of the stories and some of the struggles that these kids go through just was so inspiring that to be able to help them and give them that connection with the service members. So it was a lot of fun. And then your second question was, what is the PACT Act? So the PACT Act is a law that expands the VA health benefits for veterans that were exposed to like burn pits, Agent Orange, and other toxic substances, because, in Afghanistan and Iraq, there was a lot of burning. And then as you're, it's 50 feet away from you and the wind blows, well, that causes a lot of things in your body to happen, right? Toxic, like cancers and all sorts of weird stuff. And so the VA, I don't quote me on the dollar amount, but it's like hundreds of billions of dollars that they expanded to provide people that suffered from any of these things, services. And so what the director is going to do is kind of explain, like, how do you get access to the services, who might qualify for the services. And it's a lot of people that were in the GWAT. So, if you're in the GWAT, you probably, which is the Global War on Terror, which was the last 20 years, and you were in one of those places and you were next to a burn pit, you probably were exposed.
So I'm curious, Dr. J, being a veteran yourself, how, this is awesome. I've never heard of this before, but what's your take as a veteran for having the Warrior GMR Foundation?
I love it. Look, there's a lot of gamers in the world, and if that's the way they, navigate their symptoms, and it helps them process things on a different level. But I'm also the therapist that says, hey, if you need to ride a unicorn and sing Kumbaya, go for it. You're not hurting anybody, and if you're going to play games anyway, and it gets you to, the brain is amazing. So the whole purpose of the brain is to create solutions to the problems that you have. So if gaming soothes your ADHD, it reduces your nightmares, it alleviates, whatever stressors, and it helps build that camaraderie. Even if there's a dude on the headset who is completing the same mission you have, like if that brings them to the point where they're not choosing between a bottle and a bullet, go for it. That's where I'm at, but that's just me.
So I mentioned earlier that I came from the traditional sports, background, not gaming. And so I'm asked, like, when I got into the gaming space this journey started like 2017, 2018. So when I started, my old co-founder was a sports scientist, but he was also a high performance coach for Red Bull, because Red Bull has a high performance team. So we had another company. He calls me up. Hey, Josh, I think you start this company focused on esport athletes and gamers. I said, esport athletes. I said, I don't know what esports is. And gamers, aren't they a bunch of like kids in their parents' basement eating pizzas and stuff?
Yes.
And I'm like, why would I start a company that does that? I mean, that makes no sense. He's like, just do a little research. I said, okay, fine. So I started doing some research and really understanding, like, first I had to learn what esports was, because I didn't know what esports was, right? It's competitive gaming. It's competitive gaming. And so I realized, like, it was a multi-billion-dollar business, and these kids were their burnout was faster than I could be an NFL lineman and last in the NFL longer than I could with most of these gamers, because the hand-eye coordination and the function that they operate at is so high. The burnout rate is like, it's less than 3 years.
Right.
I'm like, how is that even possible? So the more I dove into it, I'm like, this is fascinating. So I actually really became fascinated with it and became a big fan of it, versus not the opposite prior. And so when I saw that need for, using gaming to connect, I'm like, all right, I think this would be a great tool to do it. And really, I had several meetings with the secretary's team before, because they didn't really understand that either. And I kind of explained, if you're talking to a veteran that's 40 or under, they're probably gaming, or they're in that space and they understand it, because they grew up I didn't grow up with a cell phone, right? So, my generation, we didn't grow up with technology. That generation, if you're under 40, you grew up with technology. Right. So you grew up with something in your hand. I grew up with a ball in my hand or a bat, right?
Right.
And so it's different now. And so when I was kind of going through this process and explaining it, I'm like, this is how you connect with them, because this is the tool that they use. It's like me playing, capture the flag or whatever games that we played when we were younger, right?
Dodgeball.
You connect with me, dodgeball, capture the flag, any of those, like, you were all day, every day. But now it's different, right? And so you have to go where they're at, and they're at the gaming. They're on Discord. And so, he mentioned it in his thing, because I worked through that deck with him. And so, we meet you on Discord, like, we're meeting you here, because the generation, you need to meet them where they're at. They're not going to the VFW halls. They're not doing all that, and VFW is starting to add gaming to it because they see the need for it, but traditional, they're not, right? They're not going to pool halls. They're not going to all those. So how do you connect with them? Well, this is a way to connect with them. So this is kind of that tie, even though, like, why would you start a gaming or when you're not a gamer? Well, this is the reason why, because I understand the power of it.
Well, not to mention, we're ridiculously competitive. We will compete over we open cans faster than you. We open candy bars faster than you. Like, it's ridiculous, but it is innate. There's nothing we can do. We are all very competitive. And I get that a lot. It's like, oh, you're a vet. It's like, yeah, I want to win. And I don't know why that is, but that is very much the case. We have that instilled and ingrained in us that we want to be first. We assemble our gun first. We get to the line first. It's just is. So like gaming is a really good way to navigate through that.
Yep.
In a healthy way, not an unhealthy way, which is probably the way we do it.
Well, there's extremes, right? If you're gaming 12 hours a day, that's not healthy either. So there's that balance.
But we win.
If you're for the win, yes.
12 hours, 3 minutes, man. Like, that's what we do.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah. I'm not saying that's very healthy either. I think 3 hours is pretty much the extent of any gaming I would do. Just because there's so much, it's like I remember Nintendo shooting the duck. I remember ColecoVision, the cat in the maze. That was very challenging for me. So I can't imagine the games they have now. I do like the drag racing games, but that just takes me back to the fun times in my childhood because I used to drag race. But as far as competitive, not so much. I like the calm games where you're like having to collect things as you drive.
Focus,
Those are the ones that I favor, but that's just because I'm, hitting the big 5-0 next year and want to relax.
Me too.
Well, now that I know that, Jay, we're going to have a massive party.
I know, right?
When's your birthday?
March.
Oh, mine's July.
Awesome.
Mine too. July what?
1st.
Okay, you beat me by 4 days. What's your day again in March, Jay?
13th.
Oh, you're like in the middle of all my family.
Yeah, Friday the 13th. I told you that.
So I like to do like weird things for my birthday. So because I'm turning 50 next year, I was thinking about like, what can I do that's extreme? Because I'm an extreme person. And so I wanted to do some other things that were like too much, but like there's a march called the Yomp, and it's what the British SAS does to graduate, and it's in Scotland. It's over the Scottish hills, and so a bunch of special operations people do it every year.
Oh, so that's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm hopefully, knock on wood, my daughter's getting married a week that same following week, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pull it off. But my goal is for my 50th birthday, because it's literally 3 weeks before my birthday, and it's a 52-mile ruck in under 24 hours. And there's some guys, a couple Green Berets and SEALs that are going to be doing it, and they're flying out. So I'm trying to do it with them. So that's my goal, to be able to do that with them this year for my 50th and kind of kick it off like, hey, because it's just over 50 miles. So I'm like 53 miles, so it was like a perfect little thing. So that's kind of like what I want to do for my 50th, to kind of have fun. And it'll be in Scotland too.
Yeah, I would totally drive it.
Yeah, you could support us. You could be a support crew. I don't think we're allowed to support,
wave like in a parade.
Yeah, you could be our cheer crew.
Yeah, I could drive on the wrong side of the road. It's not a problem.
Nice. So we'll invite you.
I was going to say, the first thing I wanted to say, Josh, was, are you David Goggins? Like, because that guy's insane with his
David's awesome.
Marathons.
I did back in 2013, I think, maybe 2014. Arizona has a Beat the Heat, which is basically the hottest day of the year. You run I think it's a 5K race. And so I did it. And so I'm running it, and there's this dude that runs by me. And I'm like, who the heck is running faster than me, like in 115-degree heat? And then at the finish line, I'm like, dude, nice work. It's like, yeah, my name is David Goggins. Oh, Josh Otero. And at the time, nobody knew who he was. I just, some David Goggins. I'm like, all right, I'm going to follow, like, I'm going to just, you're special because it's 115 degrees and you're flying like it's like 12 degrees. And then like, I've been following him. We didn't exchange numbers or anything like that. I just met him. But then I've been following him, and yeah, he's a machine.
Yes, he is.
He is. I read one of his books, and I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, this dude is amazing. And I eventually, when I want to have him on the show, and we will have him on the show at one point. So if anybody has any connection to David Goggins, just tell him about A Journey in Boots, because we would love to have him on here. And his story is so inspirational. Not only the fact of what he survived in his childhood, but the fact of, like, he tried Hell Week 3 times before he finally got through it. And like, most people would say, screw you, I ain't trying it again after not getting it the first time, but 3 times. Like,
he doesn't stop.
No,
he doesn't stop. Yeah, we have a podcast called the Warrior Gamer Podcast. We bring on like a lot of interesting people. I'd love to have him as a guest. I heard him on Joe Rogan, and he's like, I don't do a lot of podcasts, but I think he does like one a year. So if you get him, you get that one a year. But
I'll start now. I'll get him.
Yeah, he's awesome. Now he's out there. So now, yeah. But yeah, I love those type of people are just their stories and the overcoming adversity, right?
Yes.
It's the thing because you feel like, okay, I'm having a bad day, or my girlfriend broke up with me, whatever it is, right? And then you realize, okay, I'm blessed, and you have to like realize how grateful
Well, and
you
the other
are.
challenge I get with mental health is, I'll share like a little snippet of something that I've overcame, and people are like, oh my God, I never went through anything like that. And I'm like, oh, you should watch a TV show, because there's a lot in there. But at the same time, like, trauma is not comparable, and it doesn't matter what happened to you as much as what you can do with it. And I'm not minimizing anybody's journey or experience, but at the same time, it's like, a lot of people wonder, it's like, you've been through all that, how are you fine? And I said, well, number one, who says I'm fine? But number two, yeah, I'm doing a lot better than I could be, because I could sit in that, but I choose not to. I choose to learn from it and help other people, so it's like, what is your passion? What is your purpose? What drives you?
I think
So
it's
turning that pain into purpose is
Yeah.
huge.
Yep. There's a lady that works with us, and she's from Cameroon. And so we're actually we're going to be launching this in November. We're trying to raise $50K to take 6 veterans to Cameroon. And so she is an inspiration for me. So her name is Tamaya, and she came to the US a couple of years ago, which we'll talk about the immigration system, but she came legally, and and she went through the war. So in Cameroon, it was like a war. So the English and the French, right? And so what happened, she lived on the other side. And so when the rebels were coming, I think it was rebels, what they would do is burn the back of the house. And then in the front of the house, and as you're coming out, they would just mow you down. And so they came to her house, and they started the fire in the back end, and then it goes through, and then as you're running out, they just shoot you down. And so her family, she loses some family members, and then she was under the bed, and they came in, and they did stuff to her sister right in front of her, and then when they were done with her, I don't know if they killed her or they'd done so much damage to her, she just died, but she died. She survived. She got out with 7 of her family members into this room that's probably the size of like a shoebox. They lived in a box, not literally a box, but 7 people probably, sleeping like this next to each other. Finds a way to come to the United States. She has the most amazing mindset and attitude that anybody, like if I went through that and some of the other stuff that she's gone through that I didn't even share, I think I would have a lot of resentment and anger towards a lot of people. She's got a smile on her face. She's doing a big thing with Martin Luther King right now. She's in Atlanta. So she actually runs, she's working for the Martin Luther King Foundation to she's writing one of the stories and one of the narratives. And she's also working with us, but she is an inspiration for me. And that's why I want to kind of go back to Cameroon with her and take these veterans, because there's a lot of, the war in there. And then like the veteran, we want to do this mental health summit, like where we're kind of sharing stories and all that kind of stuff, and taking them on a fun, cool trip to Cameroon, which is, she also lost her daughter. And so she's got it's called Children's Fate. It's a charity because Cameroon's a third world country. And so doctors they don't wash, some of the basic stuff that you'd think you wash your hands before you touch the baby and all that kind of stuff, they don't necessarily do. And so babies die, and there's a lot of stuff. So she's trying to help that too. So we want to go out there with the veterans and kind of help give them that purpose to help build something. So that's kind of one of the things, but she is an inspiration to me. Like when we talk about that, like what you've gone, the trauma versus she could be there. She has every single right in the world to just hate people and to be a victim and to do all this. She refuses to do that. She is the exact opposite of that. And so she's kind of on that journey with the Martin Luther King Jr. and kind of what she's doing there. And then with us wanting to help the veteran and kind of connect them and putting together this tour for us. So this is a exact opposite of what you could be doing, is wallowing and so there's always those people that are like the light in the, in the dark, and she is that light in the dark.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
It's amazing what people do with their, their experiences, their story, their purpose, how they drive that into helping other people. Like, you don't have to, but for me, it was like, that was the way I found a way through all of it, and if you could find a way through, then you're home.
Like you said, it's the purpose. You find your purpose, you're home. If you can't find your purpose, you're going to be struggling.
Yeah, and people do struggle, and that's why we have people who help them find their purpose. What gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling? What drives you? What keeps you up at night with ideas of how you can do these things? That's all paramount. And you found yours, which is amazing. I love it. So how do people find you?
So you're posting our website. So our website will lead you to all of our resources. Our whole community is based in Discord. So on our website, right when you go on there, there's a link to our Discord community. So if you just click the link, you could join our Discord. So that's the easiest way to become actually in the community. Again, you have to, it's mostly you're a veteran or active duty and you're over 18, which you're going to be over 18 anyways. So you're over 18, join our community. If you are not, and you just want to be a part of the community, we have our podcast. We've got 40 some episodes in, and we bring a different guest on every week. We've had some big guests. And so like, Nick Lavery, who is the first above the knee amputee active duty Green Beret. So we've had Derek Herrera. So we've had some really fun, exciting guests on. So if you just want to be a part of the community and follow us, you can follow us on our podcast. You can follow us on LinkedIn. If you want to be in our community, you could join our Discord server and then watch our events. Cause we're doing May 17th and 18th of 2025 in Raleigh, North Carolina. If you're in Raleigh, we're going to be doing a national security summit. We've got General Votel that's going to be our keynote speaker, and then 2 other ladies that are national security. And then we're going to be doing war games on day 2. And we're going to be streaming that too. So if you're not in Raleigh and you want to just watch us, we'll be streaming live on Twitch. And then we've got our mental health and gaming summit, September 13th and 14th in DC. I don't have a keynote secured for that, but it'll be somebody, vice president, senator, governor, or congressman. And then that's September 13th and 14th. And then we do our Veterans Day event at Syracuse University. And that is Veterans Day weekend. So this year it'll be November 8th and 9th. Next year, I think it's November 9th and 10th. And we'll stream that too, because I don't think anybody wants to go to Syracuse in November. So watch it live on our Twitch.
That's in New York, Dorothy. It's kind of like by you.
I know where Syracuse is, my dear. I've been there before.
I've never been there. This is my first year going because
it's cold.
We did it last year. It's Shenandoah, which is warmer. But yeah, this year he moved. The esports director moved to Syracuse, and so we're doing it in Syracuse. And he's like, because I'm like, oh, we're gonna do our barbecue and all this kind of stuff again. He's like, Josh, this is Syracuse. There's nothing outdoors that we're doing. I'm like, oh, I'm not good with the cold. I'll bring my winter coat and I'll be like the first one running inside because I don't do well with the cold.
It's cold.
Well, let me guess. Are you in Florida where Dr. J's at too?
Arizona.
Arizona.
Sorry.
Arizona.
I moved out of Chicago, never moving back.
I was in Arizona. My husband and I went there February 2 years ago. And everybody's like, oh yeah, Arizona's warm. It was the coldest freaking week of my life. I didn't bring anything, any sweater, nothing. I had to buy a sweater in Arizona.
That you must have gotten. I think I remember that. It was in the 40s in the morning that one year. Yeah, that's not normal.
We went for Super Bowl. It was because we helped with the Roman Gabriel gala. So we were there for the Super, and then yes, that's what it was. Yeah, cold,
Yeah.
freaking cold.
Yeah, that's not normal. You brought the cold because that's the exact
Don't tell
opposite
me
of
that
what I'm doing.
bullshit. But everybody's like, oh yeah. I'm like freezing over here. The
Like, I
Canadian
just
is
brought
freezing.
t-shirts and shorts and now it's 40 degrees. Yeah.
Oh well. I'll have to go back because there's a bunch of people I need to go. That was the very first time I was actually in a professional studio. And they allowed me to do some shows there and interview some of the NFL players.
Oh, that's
So
cool. Nice.
yeah, it,
Very cool.
it was, where is the picture? Right there.
Oh, I see the top one.
No, yeah, the top one on
Yeah.
right over to there. That's in Mesa, Arizona.
Mesa. Yeah.
Yeah. The little coffee, but shout out to the little coffee shop in Mesa. It is like the donuts weren't that great, but the coffee was amazing.
There's some, we've had some really good breakfast places. 5, 6, 7 years ago, we had nothing. Now I would say we're almost equal to Chicago as far as the breakfast, because I'm a brunch guy. You know, my family does brunch, and so I love brunch. And so we had no brunch places up until about 7 years ago, and now they're on we have 2 on every corner, and they're really good.
Wow.
Oh,
When I was in school, I lived by Darien, south of Chicago, and I used to part-time Uber for St. Patrick's Day weekend. Man, I made a load of money.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. In the
That
city?
was when Uber first came out too.
Yeah, right in the city. Yeah, we live north. We don't live in the actual city. We just live north.
lucky. But thanks so much, Josh, for coming on and sharing your passion to
Yeah.
help our veterans and the mental health space. It's much needed. What is the one thing that nobody knows about you?
The one thing no one knows about me. I like ice cream. Well, no, people know that. What's a good thing that nobody knows about me? You know, I'm intense. I don't know. I share a lot. That I've got 2 grown girls, maybe, but because I don't post that a lot on social media.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah,
I suppose they're out of the house now and building their own nest.
they are, and they're doing well. So yeah, but I don't talk about that a lot on stuff. But yeah, they're my heart, and yeah.
Love that. So there we go. The one thing no one knows about Josh. And what is the one thing that you want people to know about your organization that we haven't talked about yet?
We're always looking for more support. You know, whether it's companies or people that want to be a part of it or people that want to volunteer we've got mostly volunteers, and we've got over 20 some that are actively volunteering, like, you know, several hours a week or 20 hours a week or more. So we're always looking to people that are passionate about what we're doing and they want to be a part of something. So that's definitely something that we need more of.
So there we go. If we have a retired veteran that's got nothing to do, that wants to do something and give back to other veterans, this is a great way. Definitely get in contact with Josh. Or I really love the fact about that youth. So if we have somebody on here that wants to help Josh with be a youth director, I think that's what I'm hearing.
That's you. That was perfect. Yes, we need a youth director. Yeah, if you want to be a youth director, please.
You know, it's funny because I was never into this whole gaming thing. I've had my husband is, and I didn't realize it when my nephew moved to Chicago. Him and his spouse are gamers, and so they have this whole gaming night, and I never understood that. But because I've never played games, I'm too intense. I want rather change the world than play a game. Anyways, that's just me. And so having you on has like really changed the way I see things. And it's funny because I've been getting into meditation and stuff like that. But that's somebody playing a game is somebody's meditation. Not mine, but somebody else's. And so thank you for bringing that perspective to us that are intense and, don't really, would rather do something else, to understand that, wait a minute, gaming can actually is a good thing. It's not like a negative thing. Like you said, you had a negative connotation where, oh, they just sit at home with their parents' basement and play games all day. Trust me, I had an ex-boyfriend, that's what he did. Laid off, and that's all he did. Wouldn't go get a new job or even attempt to. And that's what put the negative connotation in my head as I'm working 2 jobs to support us, so I get that. I lived it. And when my husband says, oh, I want to play, I'm like, no, not a game.
Well, I do think Dorothy would kick ass at Cards Against Humanity, but that's just my opinion.
I think anything that she got into, she would kick ass because of the intensity.
That's true. Yes, I agree.
Well, thank you. I'll receive that. And, what is that called? There's a game that is on every computer, Tijong or something like that. I have I've occasionally got into that, and then I get so focused on it, I don't do anything else, and then I'm like, I can't do this because I have an addictive personality. So if I start it, then I get too addicted to it. And
Yep.
So
I've been
I quit.
I've been given gaming devices, VR headsets, all that kind of stuff, and I always give them away. So I don't own a gaming device. I don't own a VR device. I don't have anything. And it's not because I don't have. I give them away. I'd rather have somebody else that could use it that needs it versus me. So I just give them away. And then with the VR, something with the VR, I get a headache. Like it just.
I have a hard time with VR too. I bought one of those number 2s or whatever, and I had to give it away because I can't.
Yep.
My brain doesn't understand.
I was given like 5 of them, and I tried one. I didn't even try them. I had tried before at the center, and I was like, oh, my brain just felt like I couldn't do it.
Yeah, my brain doesn't understand. It's like, why are you trying to ride a roller coaster when you're not physically riding the roller coaster? Like it doesn't. It won't do it.
Yeah, my brain wasn't.
I tried though.
I did too. My brain didn't like it, so it told me no.
Yeah, I tried to chop fruit in the air. Was not having it.
Yeah,
but I did try. You got to give me an A for effort.
Love it. So how is Warrior GMR Foundation funded? Is that through donations or
donations and sponsors? So we try to get companies that are in like the space or veteran friendly to sponsor our events. So that's like, for example, it'd be like the National Security Summit. We're going after like military contractors, anybody that's in that space so that's how we fund them because they're expensive to put on. Like they're not cheap. So we try to get as many corporate sponsors. Like Walmart has been one of our good sponsors. And so we try to get companies to donate or not donate, but sponsor us. And then, they get space at our events and all that kind of stuff. And then some of that money then goes back into the foundation too, because we have the other side, which is our Discord and all that side too. So we try to use some of the sponsor money to pay for that.
Right. Awesome. So there we go. If we have any big corporations out there that would like to sponsor an event, get a hold of Josh as well. Great. It's a great foundation. I love what you're doing. And that's why I'm like, I need to have him on. Because the service part, you're definitely servicing our military and our first responders. So thank you for that. It's, some people are like, well, why do you do that? Like, why help our military and our first responders? For me, it's because they put their lives on the line. So why would you not help them?
Yeah.
And so I love that there's other people like you that can come alongside us and say, wait a minute, I may not have served, but I'm behind you.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that.
Well, we appreciate that for sure. Not that I speak for all veterans, but we do appreciate that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate everything and grateful to be able to do it. So.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And thanks, Josh, for sharing your story of service and your journey in your boots. And any last thing that you want to leave our audience with?
No, just, I think it's always looking at the other side and making sure that you're keeping, find that sense of purpose, find what motivates you and dive right into it. I think that helped you, if you're having whatever struggles, find something that you're passionate about and get into it.
Yeah. Love it.
Finding your life a purpose.
Yep.
And that could be through video games. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right, guys, stay tuned for another episode next week. Be safe. And remember, be unstoppable in all that you do. Same time, same channel next week. Bye for now.